All right, guys, our next guest is an MMA icon and a pioneer in this sport. He is a former WEC featherweight champion, holds the record for most consecutive WEC title defenses and most submissions in the UFC and WEC history. After a very long and celebrated career, he has decided to retire after his next fight when he takes on Brad Pickett at UFC on Fox 22 on December 17th, and we are lucky enough to have him on the program today. Urijah Faber, welcome back to Submission Radio. Thank you so much for joining us. How's it going today, man?
Oh, it's doing awesome, man. I just actually had a great meal with Cody No Love and Chad Money Mendez, and pumped to be on the show, man. Thanks for having me again.
Oh, it's a pleasure having you. Now, we're a week away from the fight. What's the vibe like right now that you're so close? Did the preparation feel different knowing that you're preparing for your final fight and final opponent?
You know, it doesn't. I mean, there's the basic premise of it's just me going to get against another guy that's training to fight and just trying to take my head off, which you can't really escape the facts on that. But, you know, I've always had just kind of a bigger picture for things, you know, trying to get to a title shot or trying to win the title or trying to get in a super fight or whatever the case. So it is a little bit different when you're just preparing to have a last hurrah and go out there and perform and do your best and zip up a career. So it is a little bit different. It's just, I don't know how to explain it.
Well, let's start from the beginning. I mean, realistically, how long were you thinking about retirement? And for those who don't know, what is it ultimately that made you make the decision to make this your last fight?
You know, I haven't given too much thought about retirement. I'm more of like living in the moment kind of guy, but just I feel like the time is right. You know, I know that it's something that I love to do, but it hasn't been evoking the same type of emotion as it has in the past. The ups and downs and everything involved is just a little bit different. I still feel real fortunate to be able to work out every day and make a living doing the things that I love. But in all honesty, if I didn't set a time and say, okay, this is going to be it, I would have just kept on fighting because it doesn't scare me. It's a nice way to make a buck. I enjoy the process, but I feel fortunate to have my wits about me. I feel fortunate to have, my body functioning and, you know, feel like I'm in good health. And I just feel like it's time to be able to focus on some other things and you know, end on a good note.
Some people look at the Jimmy Rivera loss and wonder if that had anything to do with your decision. If you had beaten Jimmy, do you think he still would have kept on fighting, or was that just nothing to do with the fact that you decided to retire?
No, it didn't. I mean, honestly, taking that Jimmy Rivera fight was more of, you know, that's a guy that not many people wanted to fight because no one really knows who he is, and he's very tough. And I'm a guy that just, no matter what the challenge, I step up and do it. So it wasn't my best performance necessarily. It was kind of a lackluster fight, in my opinion, because we were pretty evenly matched. But, no, I think it was more of it's just kind of a perfect time. You know, the new arena. I've had a world championship. I've had contender fights. I've stepped up on short notice and had these title fights. I've had a lot of opportunities. And I don't really feel like, you know, petering out to this next generation. I want to be at my best and finish while I still have the skill and the mindset and everything to do it. So, no, not necessarily, because I plan on winning this next fight and I'm still planning on retiring.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you, for a long time, obviously, you've been not just known as Urijah Faber the fighter, but also Urijah Faber the captain, leader of Team Alpha Male. I mean, you mentioned you just had, you know, a bit of brunch or a bit of lunch with Cody No Love. What was the reaction like at the gym when you decided to retire?
It was weird, you know, people, I mean, get kind of sentimental and they make it seem like you're leaving somewhere. I'm not going anywhere. I'll still be in the gym on a daily basis and doing the same thing. But people are kind of emotional about it. It's weird to think of, you know, when you've been a leader by action and somebody that's always preparing and getting ready for big fights and stuff like that. So, you know, people are like, you know, kind of down about it, but also, you know, excited about it as well, because there's another phase of things that's going to get underway, another new focus, and I'm still going to be there to bring on the next generation.
When the UFC booked you for UFC Sacramento, you said they didn't know it was going to be your last fight. Now, you've always been a huge part of the bantamweight division, and I mean, you've always had a great relationship with them. What was their reaction when they found out? What did Dana White and the UFC react like when they found out this was your last fight?
They were supportive and asked basically if they could call it that, because I had mentioned something about it, and they didn't want to necessarily peg it as that unless they had the okay from me. And I've had a good conversation with Dana and thanked him and Lorenzo for all they've done for me, and just basically they're pretty pumped that this fight's going to happen in Sacramento. So it's been a just kind of an interesting play of events, but it hasn't been it's kind of been business as usual.
What do you think of Brad Pickett as your final opponent? Did you sort of ask for him specifically, or was he just the name offered to you?
No, I've never asked for anyone really specifically in a fight unless it's to challenge for a title or to pick a fight for a reason that it's going to be a good business decision. But I'm happy it's Brad. I have a lot of respect for Brad. I love the way he fights. He comes with danger, and he comes with intent to kill, and there's no way it's going to be a boring fight with a guy like that, and I have to be on my A game to make it happen, because he's got wins over guys like Demetrius Johnson, and he's been a top guy for a lot of years. So I'm excited for a challenge. I'm excited for a guy that I respect a lot, and I feel like he's kind of an iconic guy for the UK as well. He's been one of those soldiers, especially at the lightweight, that has helped put MMA on the map, and so it just seems kind of fitting.
You've had such a phenomenal career. I mean, absolutely unbelievable. But is this how you always pictured your final fight? How did you picture it? And do you feel like this is a fitting way to end and celebrate a decorated career like yours? Or did you have something else in mind maybe a few years ago that you pictured as your last fight?
Well, to be honest, I would have liked to beat Dominick Cruz in the last fight, win the title, maybe do one defense in the hometown of Sacramento and go out with the belt. But, this is not fairy tale land. This is the real world, and you can't control everything. So, that would have been the perfect scenario, but didn't happen. I think having Paige Van Zandt headline the show in our hometown where our gym and our team is, kind of like a passing of torch, have two of my top guys with Josh Emmett and Alex Sandoval on the card, and then Cody Garbrandt fighting for a world championship in my same weight, 2 weeks later, it's all just a perfect scenario. So couldn't have planned it like this, but it is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of sort of sentimentality, surrounding the whole situation. I got to ask though, do you find it a bit of a funny situation where on the night, I mean, there may be two runs that come to an end. Like obviously you've already confirmed that this will be your last fight, but Brad Pickett, he's a guy that's sort of, had a bit of a rocky road in terms of success over the last few years, and many suspect that he might be fighting for his job in this fight. Do you think there's any chance that both of you retire in the octagon together?
I mean, I guess there's a chance. I would never want to talk for somebody else and what's going on in their head. I will say, I mean, there's a difference between, in a rocky road, and especially in this sport, there's guys that one slight miscalculation or one bad day, and it determines whether you've won or lost. So, when I think of Brad Pickett, like in a fight like his fight with Almeida, who's one of the top prospects and one of the highest skilled guys. I mean, Brad Pickett was putting it on him and had him rocked, and then got caught with a knee. So, there's guys like Clay Guida. Like Clay Guida, he can have a couple of fights where he doesn't come on the winning end of things and still be secure in his job, because he's such a spirited fighter and such a talented fighter and have such a fan base. So for Brad Pickett, I don't see them in any way, shape, or form forcing him out of this game, but if it's his decision to do so at some point, all the power to him.
You're obviously focused on this fight and training for it, and maybe you didn't really have a chance to really think about how you're going to do it, but what do you think that moment's going to be like after the fight? Are you planning anything specific afterwards, laying your gloves in the center of the octagon, for example, or anything else special, or are you leaving this to sort of last minute and feeling it out as it goes?
I don't think it's the wisest thing to do to think about what I'm going to do to end my career. I mean, my career is going up until that day, and I have to focus as such. So I haven't really thought about it. I know it's going to be a mystery to how the emotions are on that night, whether it's going to be a breath of relief or, emotional, saying goodbye or what's going to happen. So I'm just going to go with the moment. That's kind of how I live my life anyways. And just go out thankful and hopefully have a performance in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've sort of had the chance to sort of look back on your career and sort of reflect, or if maybe that'll sort of come afterwards. But when you do look back on such a decorated career, are you satisfied with how it went and what you were able to accomplish? Do you sort of feel fulfilled?
I do feel fulfilled. I mean, of course, there's always things that you wish you get a second chance at, or specific fights, or having the UFC title would have been nice. Of course, they didn't bring my weight class into the UFC until I was nearly 32 years old, and I had quite a few shots, including like some short notice fights where guys had been injured and I jumped in because I'd been prepped and ready. But I don't really have any regrets. I feel like as soon as we start regretting or thinking about what coulda, shoulda, woulda, that's just a bad place to be. I'm always forward thinking, and I'm happy to have been a pioneer in the sport. I'm happy to be a guy that's been a world champion in the sport, a top contender in the sport, a fan favorite in the sport, somebody that's built something bigger than myself with creating a team, and I'm pretty happy with all that, and who knows what's going to happen in the future.
You sort of alluded earlier on in this interview about how after this fight there'll be some new exciting things happening in the gym. Tell us a little bit about that. What's going to happen after the fight? What are these sort of exciting changes, and what are you planning to do with yourself after you retire? Are you going to pursue other new ventures? We know you have a bunch of businesses. I mean, you're a busy man. What are the plans after you hang up the gloves?
I don't think it's going to be much different. I already juggle a lot of balls and have a lot of irons in the fire. So probably just a little more focus on some of the business ventures that I have, really getting those things pumping. I have a new gym that we're working on right now that's going to be 20,000 square feet, a brand new facility. It's going to house our team. And I look to really grow our team, be active in recruiting and mentoring and finding ways to make our team unique and special and bring on a generation of fighters at all weight classes, from heavyweight to light heavy and all the way down to the, lightest weight class for females, to get a strong team and build something that lasts. So on the fighting front, it's that. From a business standpoint, I've got, a lot of different businesses, from the clothing line with Torque1.net to local health bars, The Vibe and Liquidology in Sacramento, and Purist Labs for supplements and kombucha culture and everything in between. I've got all these different projects, but everything is probably going to run back to me making a living, doing things that I like to do, and getting involved in real estate and having a good time, because that's the most important thing.
Wow, I think you listed like every single thing under the sun. There's the gym, there's this, there's your clothing brand. You even threw real estate out there. You're going to be probably busier than when you were actively fighting. Got to ask you though, Urijah, on a side note, speaking about things that you'll be doing afterwards, something big happened the other week with the Mixed Martial Arts Association launched, the Athletes Association, and during the conference call, Tim Kennedy mentioned how he's got some of the biggest gyms in the sport behind it. One of the gyms that he brought up repeatedly was Team Alpha Male. Just wondering, can you clarify that? Is that something we'll see you be a part of?
I honestly, nobody's talked to me about it. So I think there's like, and if you got a glimpse inside my day, it's a hectic time between training and the team and working on this new gym and everything else. I haven't had time to sit and research and look at all the union stuff happening. I know that there's 3 different unions that are happening. One from a guy that led by a guy named Jeff. There's one with Kung Lee and Couture, and there's one that CAA and Bjorn Remney are kind of behind. And I haven't taken a look at any of those because I've been focused on my time and effort. So that would be news to me if our team was involved in anything. And but I'm all ears to hear what's going on in the landscape when I have time to sit down and breathe and take a look under the covers. But I just haven't had that time.
Sure. I feel like you're definitely a guy that they'll be contacting soon. Just curious, though, I mean, on what they're sort of trying to accomplish, one of the big things is obviously pensions and monetary support for retired fighters. We know guys like, say, Mark Coleman and Don Fryer, some of those are sort of, doing hard at the moment, and these are obviously guys who paved the way for the sport. I'm just wondering sort of how important, I guess, you think it would be to implement some of those goals, especially considering that, you're a guy who theoretically would be eligible for such benefits soon, given that, they want all retired fighters to sort of receive those benefits as well.
I mean, that would be great. I don't know what that looks like or how realistic it is. I feel like there are other sports that have, some things set in stone, and I'd be all for that. I'm curious how the new ownership is going to approach taking care of the generation past and everything else. But again, I have to take a look at things and see, okay, is this something that is going to happen? If it's not going to happen, like, where do I focus my time and energy? For me, I have to focus on, I don't want to focus on spilt milk. I need to be forward thinking and find out my next source of revenue and what I'm going to put my time into. And I'd like to work with the UFC and everyone else to make sure that our sport keeps progressing. And I don't know if that comes with the union or comes to sit down with the bosses at William Morris Endeavor or whatever, but I'm all ears and will lend a hand however I can.
Well, we appreciate the time here. We've got a couple more questions and we'll let you go. I mean, speaking of changes in the future, Cody Garbrandt, your friend and also teammate, he takes off Dominick Cruz in a couple of weeks, like you mentioned, at UFC 207. How fulfilling would it be for you to see a guy like Garbrandt win and take over the reins as another champion from Team Alpha Male?
It'd be awesome. There's no secret that, the UFC has had a very short time with the lightweight classes. Since 2011, that's the first time they've introduced our weight class. So, just under 5 years. And we've been building a tradition for a long time of champions. I was a champion in the WEC, reigning for years, and then TJ, he was our first champion in the UFC, and then now to have Garbrandt step up and be a guy that has a very good chance and likelihood of being a champion is very, very favorable. And it's just the beginning for us, It's such a young division for us in the UFC, and having a tradition that I've always kind of written down as my goals to build a tradition of champions is exciting, man. And I know that there's guys on our team that you guys have never heard of that have been with me since they're 9 and 10 years old. Guys like Joseph Morales, who's 6-0 now, and Angelo Trevino and Andrew Coyne and Josiah McHale and all these guys that have been with me since they're little kids. They're now 21 and 22 and 23. It means a lot, and it'll be really cool to have Cody, continue to help seal up that reputation of building champions over here and help us bring in the next generation as well.
Be honest, would there be a bit of a sense of vindication for you, seeing as how, if Cody wins, he'd be beating arguably your most notable rival in Dominick Cruz?
Yeah, I mean, not vindication by any means. We all have our own path, and my qualms and beef with Cruz and fights against Cruz have been their own animal. But I think more than anything, just the excitement of seeing somebody like Cody Garbrandt, who is, I mean, this is a very, very inspiring guy. If you know the backstory, I mean, there needs to be a movie written about this guy's background and his family and the way his spirit and his ability have allowed to change and motivate people. I mean, this guy is a motivating guy. He's a talented guy. He's a gifted guy, and he works his butt off. So that'll be the exciting part for me. I don't really, bring the whole Cruz thing into things. Cruz and I have our own situation, and Cody and Cruz have their own situation. So no vindication there.
You have to be honest with us here. I mean, you and Cruz, you guys have had some back and forth. There's been some tense moments, but also a lot of highlights for fans, and a big memorable part of your career. Now that things are sort of winding down, is there a part of you that sort of looks on it fondly? I mean, there's been a lot of fun times in your rivalry, a lot of great moments, and a lot of moments that fans enjoyed. Is it sort of, while it's sort of can be bitter and sometimes back and forth, is it also sort of a bit of a highlight sometimes when you look back on it?
Oh, I enjoyed the whole process. You know, I'm not one, as you've seen, you see me on The Ultimate Fighter with Cruz and with Connor, and just in general, you can't really get under my skin. So I've enjoyed the whole process from the banter back and forth to, you know, the fights before, during, and after. I really enjoyed it, and I actually feel like Cruz has grown up a lot. He was an immature little punk when I first met him, and now he's just irritating champion. But he's grown up a lot, and so I have respect for him and what he's accomplished as well. And I hope he doesn't take it too hard when Cody comes in and thumps him. Keep his head high.
Well, I mean, I feel like it'd be appropriate as we're sort of letting you go, Urijah. Obviously, you know, you spent a lot of time in the cage with Cruz, and you spent an infinite time with Cody in the gym. I mean, give it to us straight. How do you see this fight playing out? And if Cody is to beat Cruz, you say he's very favorable. How do you think he overcomes, you know, the footwork and the style that makes Cruz so dangerous?
You know, the most dangerous part about Cruz is he's able to frustrate guys, and what I've seen from Cody, unlike guys like TJ Dillashaw, I've seen TJ from the very beginning of his career up until, you know, him being in the gym as a champion and preparing to defend the title. And TJ is worse when he's frustrated. Cody Garbrandt is better when he's frustrated. He's got a boxing pedigree and a wrestling pedigree that is unmatched within our sport. I mean, he's a guy that had a lot of success as a kid as a wrestler, as a high schooler as a wrestler, and then just transferred right into mixed martial arts. And he's been boxing since he was a little kid. So, you know, the frustration that happens when you fight a guy like Cruz, it makes some guys worse and it makes some guys better. And for Cody, it's going to make him better. And it's going to be a bad night for Cruz.
It's going to be an exciting fight to watch. Before we let you go, we just want to clarify. You've always spoken about how you're a spontaneous guy and keeping plans isn't your strong point. Is this a 100% permanent retirement, or is there a possibility you might Randy Couture us and come back one day?
I mean, you never know. I have a real hard time turning down a good time, and for me, that's what fighting is. And the margins on fighting are awesome compared to most business, meaning, you know, the overhead of a clothing company or a health bar or anything like that, you know, doesn't rival the fight game. But I feel like it makes sense for me to do what I'm doing. I have a lot of things I want to focus on, a lot of passions in this world. And can someone coax me into coming out of retirement by picking a fight? I mean, I would never rule that out, but in my mind, this is going to be it.
I love it. You always have a hard time turning down a good time. I feel like this is a memorable Urijah Faber quote. All right, Urijah, who knows what the future holds and where it'll take you. We're excited to watch and see. As we let you go, we want to thank you for all the memories and also for always being good to us and giving us your time to chat. It's something that we've always mentioned on the show before and that we appreciate greatly. It's been an absolute privilege and honor watching you go to battle and for us to cover your career. And we look forward to watching you make that walk on December 17th in Sacramento when you take on Brad Pickett. Thank you so much for your time, Urijah, and best of luck in your fight. Oh, and of course, everybody's got to follow Urijah on Twitter and Instagram at Urijah Faber, and of course Snapchat as well. Yeah, Snapchat's Urijah Faber 1. Everything else is Urijah Faber. And where are you guys out of? Where are you headquartered? Melbourne, Australia. The best place in the world. Just kidding. One of the best places. I'm going to tell you, I feel like there's a kindred spirit between Australia and California. There's a lot of the similar folks, so I definitely want to come out there, and when I'm in Australia, because I'm going back, I love that place, maybe we can do an in-person interview and go grab a beer. For sure, man. I mean, beer and interviews, that's pretty much what we do. We don't surf, but I don't know, maybe you can teach us. So we look forward to that. As always, Urijah, thank you so much for your time. We always love chatting with you. Here's a big misconception. I'm not a great surfer, but I'm going to learn how when I retire. But have a good one, guys. Thank you.